Okay, welcome to another episode of JNA News Dash, where two full-time realtors become part-time newscasters, bringing you the real estate news in Singapore for the past week. And if you are overseas and you'd like to know more about the Singapore property market, you've come to the right place. And today, I have with me Grace.
Hello.
And I'm Lucas, of course. Hello. And today, wow, it's finally out of the... I don't know. Are we out of the heat wave? It's been very hot in Singapore.
Yes, it's been pouring and it's raining today. I love rainy days.
Finally. Yes, and it was crazy weather, right? Because this morning I had a viewing for a 4-bedroom, right? And then the viewer and myself were like sweating buckets. And I was like in my suit, right? And I was sweating buckets.
I know,
so
every single time we go for viewing, and like, because usually for professionalism on JNA, people always wear suit. And then like the clients will be, I don't know how you guys survive in suit.
Yeah, right? We meet clients in suits. We door knock in suits.
Yes.
We go viewings in suits. Today, the unit had no aircon. No electricity yet, so we were sweating buckets. But then suddenly the storm clouds came and it's raining buckets now. Hopefully it's a change of the weather, right? And then we'll have a nice and cooling, reaching the end of the year.
I'm so excited for Christmas.
Yes. I've been saying, hey, it's, maybe time to put out a Christmas tree already.
Yeah,
let's
we're going to have it up
earlier.
soon.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at what's happening in Singapore today. Right, Grace, what do we have?
Okay, so the first one will be underwhelming BTO applications. We've been hearing about overwhelming BTO applications, but here we are seeing underwhelming, which is expected by some people due to the recent cooling measures that the government has. But I think for this one, in summary, the recent October BTO actually only received 1.6 applicants for each available BTO flats.
Oh.
This is a far comparison from what we see maybe 2 years back, where, some of the projects near, for example, Bukit Merah could have seen 28 applications for one single unit. Yeah, and what some people do say, on the ground analysts do say, is that it's due to the recent cooling measures of non-selection rules, which mean that I think in the past, you hear all your friends who are going for BTO say, okay, let's just pay $10 and tikam, right? There's no harm. It's just $10 and you try for your luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think government also realized that, and what they want to do is, if you do get a slot or a lot to pick a unit and you decide not to go ahead with it, you are then you're going to be put on a list where you do not get priority as like first timers.
Yeah, so we did talk about this last week, right? When I was here with Geraldine. And it's surprising the response that we got for BTOs, because 2,800 flats were being released, and we've been talking about it for quite a while, that Singaporeans have been anticipating like the launch of new BTO flats. Yeah. So Grace, was it because of the location that the take-up rate wasn't that high?
Okay, so surprisingly for the projects in October, they were both what we previously termed as mature and non-mature estates, in both mature and non-mature, such as Choa Chu Kang, Tengah, even Kallang, Whampoa, and Queenstown. And in the past, people would be snatching for this BTOs.
Yeah, surprising, because
the location is so good.
Yes. Queenstown was like, hotcakes last time.
But what is surprising is that application rates for the projects in the non-mature is actually higher as compared to the mature ones. Okay. And I think that's also because of the cooling measures that the government came in, such as your prime location housing, your PRH, where if you were to buy in this BTO, you're not allowed to sell until after a 10-year MOP.
Yes. Wow, and that's very long.
Yes, and you wait for 5 years for it to build. That's 15 years before you can actually sell in the open market. So I think this is really hindering the demand of the houses in these areas also.
Yes, and when we talk to our investment buyers, we always talk in terms of property life cycles, right? And for us, it's like every 3 years is one property life cycle. 15 years is it's 5 property life cycles. If you book your BTO flat when you're 25, by the time you can sell it, you're 40. That's a very long time. Yeah, so imagine not being able to upgrade.
Yes,
right?
I think one consideration that people will have or might go against this non-selection rule is that, it's their first home and they may need a little more, I think, choices, because you may not be in the top queue numbers, and by the time it gets to you, maybe the floor level or the certain facing is not to your liking and you would like to back out. So I think a lot of these first time buyers they feel restricted by this new ruling that, if I have to apply, I really have to go ahead with it if I do get my number. I think that's what the government wants also. They don't want people just applying for the sake of applying. They really want to give the opportunities to those people who have thought it through and really are considering a unit in the area.
Yes, and what's an interesting trend I've been noticing with HDB, right? They've been releasing more 3 and 4 room HDB flats, lesser than 5 rooms. So it's like now, although you'll still be getting 3 bedrooms, but you're getting like around 1,000 square feet instead of 1,200 square feet. Yeah, and this could play into people's long-term plans when they're planning families and they want a bit more space.
Correct.
Right? And like 1,000 square feet just won't cut it.
Yeah, and I think it's also in this October launch that there were no 5-room flats on offer in mature estates. And this actually will then lead to all these owners going into, or potential buyers going to the HDB resale market. Yeah. So with COVID, I think people realize the importance of space a little bit more and they're looking for like bigger flats. And this is when I think older resales might give you the space that you actually need if that is your priority.
Yeah.
So you may see more demand going into the resale market for these bigger houses because BTO is just not able to feed the demand for it.
Interesting you mentioned that because I have noticed that HDB resale flats have been, I wouldn't say flying off the shelf, but still moving,
Yes,
and we'll probably have numbers for you in the next 1 or 2 news dashes.
So I think it might take some time for the entire resale to actually maybe stable down a little bit. I don't think the cooling measures are instant effect because people will start looking at the resale market and it could potentially, for a short-term wise, boost the demand in the resale market also.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at what's on news number 2.
Okay, so second one, we're still on BTO, but this one will be something interesting for those who are really looking for own stay. You get your first 2 Bayshore BTO projects to be launched in 2024. And because of the location of it, it's very likely to be a plus model, which also means that you're subjected, just like the prime, that you're subjected to also the 10-year MOP period.
Yeah. So in case you don't know where Bayshore is, I'll give you 3 seconds to guess.
3,
2, 1 is at East Coast. Yes, a very popular space for Singaporeans, especially I would say a lot of Singaporeans are looking to retire in East Coast.
I think it's also very popular among like the youngsters. We always hear from clients a more atas area.
Yes, more atas, more lifestyle.
A lot of cafes, a lot of food.
And it's one of the few areas, right, where these are the older flats, of course, but you still get a very nice sea view from HDB
if you're
flat.
lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. And I mean, the older HDB flats are still there and available for resale. If you still like a bigger floor plate plus sea view, of course, they are not cheap and they're pretty old.
Yes.
Yeah. So what else can we see from here?
And I think it will be something that is going to be of demand just because of the location and how it's so convenient due to the upcoming MRTs and amenities. And there'll be more residential units in the area and a whole rejuvenation of the entire East Coast area also.
So I'm seeing that it's going to be a plus model for this area. Of course, it's a very high demand area.
Yes.
So what's the impact of the plus model going to be on the Singaporeans who buy the space?
I think like what we mentioned, it's similar to also the PLH, which is your prime houses, which also means that you have to stay inside for 10 years after you receive your keys before you can sell it in the open market. And but of course, I guess the plus point would be that you get more subsidies because government really understands that houses and HDBs in these areas are very expensive, and for people who really truly is looking to live there because of schools or you want to live near your parents, this is something that the government is trying to help with also.
Now it's not only about the MOP, there's going to be some architectural differences.
Yeah, and something that's very special as compared to your previous HDBs. It will look a little bit different because they did mention that you do get full height windows, which is something that you really don't see in most of HDBs. They're either like half height or 3/4 height. So this one will be full height windows, and they also have flexible layouts to cater to modern living needs. So I think a lot of youngsters like to break down walls to turn like 3 bedders into 2 beds, just so that they have a bigger living room and they don't need that extra bedroom. So government are hearing your needs and they're making things a little bit easier for people to redesign a home to their living also.
Yeah. So honestly, we have not many HDB flats with full height windows to compare to. I think many Singaporeans may not be used to how you should lay out the room, right? To efficiently use the space, because technically you wouldn't want to push the bed all the way to the full height window. That doesn't, it will defeat the purpose of having the view, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you like some interior design
you get
tips,
a full suntan if you don't close your windows and you just want to sleep right next to it.
Oh my, those homes facing west? Oh wow. Okay.
I would imagine the heat to be one of a concern, but there are many ways to tackle that also.
A lot of vitamin D. Okay, so the Bayshore exhibition is available at HDB Hub, right? Until late 2024.
Yeah.
So if you're keen to see what it's going to look like, you can head over there and have a look. Okay, so next up, new private home sales falls to its lowest since September 2022.
Yep.
Yeah, so tell us more about this.
And I think that's something that, a lot of people on the ground are concerned about. They've seen, how prices have been going up and up and up, and how everything has been in demand. People are snatching units off the shelf. People are flooding the show flats, and they're concerned on why the drop. And the drop is quite significant. It's actually only 217 units were sold in September. So that's almost a 45% decrease from 394 units in August. And this figure is actually 78% lower than last year in the same month in 2022.
So what are some of the reasons for this significant sales drop?
Okay, so I think some of the major reasons, one of it could be the absence of major launches. So in September, only 68 units were launches, which is a significant drop from 590 units in August and 2,156 units in July. So I think in previous months, we've seen blockbuster launches, but I think it was a little bit quieter. Maybe developers have been pacing the launches also. Other reasons could be the 7th month that was also during the past month, and housing market typically slows down because people just feel a bit pantang to shop during the 7 months, so they rather wait out the period before going back into the market. And school holidays can also be a factor on how come people are not shopping. They're just preparing for vacations and stuff. But I think the main reason could be for the lack of launches. Because I think school holidays and 7 months is something that happens year on year basis.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's really the launches that are slowing down the market a little bit because people don't have much choices also.
Yeah. So the next few months is going to be interesting, I feel, because we know on the ground that quite a few TOP projects are coming up.
Yes.
Right? There's going to be I think more than 3,000, 4,000 new units on the market available for sale. So let's see whether or not people prefer new launch or a new flat, new TOP flat.
Yeah, new resale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what else can you tell us about this?
I think one thing might be the economic slowdown and market cooling measures that have made buyers a little bit more cautious. Because I think Singaporeans, even though they're pocket cash rich, they are
prudent.
Yes, I would say. And they are wait and see. A lot of people are wait and see approach.
Yes.
They don't want to be the first one that takes the step. So they cannot see how things has been happening. And I think a lot of things have been happening in the market or in the world, like the wars that has been happening. And these are some things that, global economic uncertainties actually tend to hinder the confidence of buyers also.
And the Chinese market as well, of course, they are undergoing some turmoil over there. Right? The Chinese market, not China itself, but Chinese market, right, has seen a bit of a crash, right? And we're going to be talking about this a little bit more later. Yeah. So actually, this brings us to quite a nice segue to the next topic.
News, yes.
So this brings us to the next topic. So Evergrande is winding up its hearing, right? Is potentially going to face liquidation.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about this?
So I think being one of the biggest or largest property developer in China, a lot of people have a lot of concerns and a lot of eyes on them actually. So the company's default in 2021 actually did ignite a crisis in the property market that continues to affect, I think, in the wider spectrum of the economy, just because I think real estate plays a huge role in the growth of the Chinese market also. So if their restructuring actually fails and they cannot reach a new deal with its creditors, like what you mentioned, it could face liquidation where a lot of the assets are actually sold and operations are ceased.
Yeah.
And this could have a ripple effect because a lot of the houses or buildings that they're building are in the process. And we've seen how people are left, they've paid for the down payment. Some of them have paid for a significant amount of the home, and the houses are just left in cement, and there is no construction going on, which leaves a lot of people lost and at a loss of what to do also.
Yeah, and I mean, this whole crisis not just affected Evergrande, right? It's affected all Chinese developers that's based in China.
Yes.
And I don't think that they would be willing to take up the risk of buying over an unfinished condominium, right? And take on more risk, considering that they're all already in risk. Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of questions on, how liquidation is going to affect the economy also, because it's not as easy to say. In Singapore, we've seen similar cases where developers actually have to go through liquidation, such as 11 at Holland, where the developers have to clear all the units because of court rulings.
Yeah. It's not something that has not happened in Singapore before. Historically, liquidation has happened, and what happens is just a new developer takes over. And that was in a different market, yes. But I think in Singapore, developers and banks are not facing any issues or risks from what's happening in China, surprisingly, right? And what I foresee happening, right? Singapore being proven as a very strong and stable market, we'll be seeing some of these Chinese developers focusing more on Singapore real estate as well.
And I think another thing is that other Chinese developers will also face scrutiny and challenges in securing finances in the future. Yeah. Just because this has happened and the confidence is lost. Yes. And I think the confidence in real estate developers with what has happened is going to take a long time to actually rebuild the confidence in consumers, in banks, and investors also.
Yeah. Yep. So I think how you can get a feel or get sensing of how Chinese developers are doing in Singapore is look at the major Chinese developers, right? Like MCC Land and Qingqian Realty. They're still buying land, they're still producing condos, and they're selling well.
Yeah.
Right? But how is the Chinese government looking at this issue?
So the Chinese government actually plays a significant role in the entire liquidation process. And while they do have the resources to actually provide liquidity stimulus to its domestic property developers, I think they are a little bit reluctant because they don't want to encourage the speculative access of the market. And they don't want to set the example, of if anything happens, government is always there to bail you out. So I think they are also a little bit careful in their involvement in this entire saga.
Yeah, that's right. I think, if you know what's happening in Chinese market, right, there's a lot of even finished properties, which don't have a buyer's market. Nobody is buying, right? And I really also think that, there's no point in the Chinese market, in the Chinese government billing them out for the sake to complete more unfinished properties. So I think they may be trying to set an example for other developers to don't build what nobody is going to buy.
Yes, and I think some articles have also mentioned that the government is loosening the restrictions on property purchase nationwide, and I think the primary concern for them now would to be actually social welfare, to ensure that home buyers actually receive what they actually purchase from developers. Because I think this could potentially leave family homeless, and it could really affect their plans. And I think because property and real estate is such a big purchase that usually takes up a bulk of a family's finances. Yeah. So when they are stuck like this in such situation where, they have already put down the funds, but they don't have the home, there's a lot of question mark on, what's going to happen next. So it's a lot of people that is being affected in this entire process also. So I think there's a lot of concerns and questions on how it may actually affect things globally, even in Singapore, with how Chinese growth actually accounts for 35% of the world's growth. So which makes any significant disruption in China's economy a concern for global financial systems also, how it may actually affect Singapore property. Investors are just a little bit more concerned. And I think Singapore government has done a good job in their measures on how they actually want to prevent property bubbles happening in Singapore, preventing speculations, even in times where the market is a bit slow, Singaporeans do have the holding power to actually tide through it, which actually prevents the entire market from crashing also.
Yeah, that's true, right? And we are so grateful to be in this country where everyone like owns their own home.
Where the confidence that when you pay a developer, you have the confidence that you're going to get your home 5 years down the road and not just having like concrete half-built houses.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, I think that's all we have for today's news. If you do want to keep updated with any other sagas or any other insights, feel free to join our Telegram group here where we continuously update you guys with new information also.
Yes.
So I think that's all we have for today. This is Grace.
This is Lucas.
We'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.